today we are speaking to Mr. Senzo Mbatha, who is a South African football executive, very, very decorated. He's held several leadership roles, not just in South Africa, but also in East Africa. And today we are going to speak the business of sport. Senzo, a very good morning to you from South Africa, and a pleasure having you on board on Citizen TV. How are things down south in Johannesburg?
Thank you very, very much for the opportunity to engage. Thank you very much. It's a great morning. Things are okay. We are moving away from the winter season, so summer is upon us. So South Africa is great, Johannesburg is great.
And the first question, basically, you've been in sports management or football administration, and I'll begin with South African situation, your home country. If you compare sub-Saharan Africa, South Africa seems to do well in as far as football management is concerned, the business of sport and so forth. What do you think has worked for South Africa that the rest of the sub-Saharan African countries need to borrow?
I think, first of all, we should appreciate the fact that, football somehow mirrors what is happening in the society. It mirrors what is happening in the community. It mirrors what is happening in the country, South Africa has been fortunate enough to be in a very sort of comfortable space in terms of sports in general. Also historically, South Africa, football has been the number one sports for the black folk, So I think those that have been involved in the sport for all these years, took it upon themselves to take the game forward, and they fought hard to ensure that we enjoy their fruits as we are now. The World Cup, and I think that has also assisted us a lot in South Africa to ensure that we find ourselves where we are because of the infrastructure that we have, the systems that we have that allows us for proper development. We're not one of the best, but the system in the country allows us to be where we are today. So really, the credit must go to the past events that led to where we are today.
Closer home, since I'll bring you to East Africa, and of course, I'm talking about Tanzania here. You are one of the persons or people who've had a stint in the boardroom of Yanga SC as well as Simba SC. These are sworn rivals, but one of the biggest clubs in East Africa, probably. What do you draw from your stint in Tanzania? Right now, they're making big leaps forward. Probably your time there, what did you achieve, and probably what's working for these two clubs?
I think I came to Tanzania at a point where everybody had agreed that they needed to transform. I think the executives and the owners of the clubs, made a decision on their own that they needed to transform their clubs. They needed to be a club that can compete intercontinental, inter-club competition. They wanted to be clubs that can also be reckoned with when it comes to African football. So I came at a time whereby the reception was good. The mindset was proper. People were willing to listen to what we are bringing on offer. So it was a good moment for me, though very challenging because, the majority, if not all, most of the East African clubs are owned by members, So you had to look at the ownership models of this club and say, how do you ensure that we bring in money while we allow the members to still have a voice in their clubs? How do you ensure that there's progress in the boardroom? Because without a strong and professional and good governance in a boardroom, clubs cannot move forward. People think that it only happens in the picture, in the field of play. It starts in the boardroom, by having proper structures by having a proper governance structure and having policies that will guide the team and managers and whoever comes in and those players that they're going to buy, and most of all by having proper money to be able to afford that. So it was very key that we dealt with the professional approach and the reforms in the boardroom so that we're able to easily get to the players and the success that you are seeing in the different teams in Tanzania.
You've talked of structure, and these are a big debate we've had in Kenya for long. I'm sure you follow Gor Mahia, the most decorated club in Kenya, FC Leopards. And the issue you're raising about structural changes and all that is a major challenge here. Now, borrowing from Tanzania, where you are, what do you consider to be your greatest achievement in a nutshell?
Look, for me, I think the transformation, the ability to bring out the professional approach in how football is managed in these big clubs, for me, was the biggest success. Without blowing my own trumpet, I think now people started understanding what is the role of the CEO in a football club in terms of why do you need a professional setup. When I joined Simba, coming straight from South Africa, Simba was operating from their old, clubhouse where there's, member clubs, and it was not a professional. It was not a professional sort of office, and we had to plead with the board to say, look, for us to do our business and run this club as proficiently as you want us to be, we need to have a corporate office. It took time, but within 3-4 months, we were allowed to have that corporate office. And what you do in that corporate office, you are corporatizing your operations. Now the coaches knows that on Thursdays, they must go to the office, come and give us their plans, and so that we know exactly what they're doing. We have your team there, your marketing team, the people who are selling tickets, and your legal team there. You can have all these ongoing meetings as you are strategizing in terms of how you turn around the club. So it is important for me to highlight that, because that alone has really shaped the manner in which the football club has been seen. We're moving towards the new modern professional approach. So for me, what was big and very important in East Africa, our ability to elevate our clubs, especially the two major clubs, to elevate them to a status of being a professional club, fully fledged professional. Of course, there's still outstanding issues. There's still issues here and there. But at the end of the day, you can see now, even in the performance, that, the clubs now have really moved, and so has the league as well, in terms of how the football is run in Tanzania.
And of course, club football, Mbatha national team football success. And I'm talking of AFCON 2027, as we are aware, East Africa, Tanzania, Uganda, and Tanzania will be co-hosting this competition in 2027. This is a major competition. Borrowing from South Africa, you guys have hosted both the AFCON and the World Cup. Probably from where you sit, in summary, in maybe 2 minutes or under a minute, how should the region prepare to have a successful AFCON in 2027?
This thing needs all hands on deck. You cannot sleep. You cannot wait for government to do things. You cannot have a disconnect between government and organizing committee. Everybody needs to be part of this, because in no time the competition will be upon the three nations, and there will not be time to rectify anything. The time starts now. I have worked in the World Cup myself as a deputy tournament director, so I know what it takes to put together a tournament of that magnitude. The biggest challenge you have now is the infrastructure upgrade and connecting whatever is happening in different areas in your different countries, connect it under one roof so that we know exactly what is happening in a country at what given time. So I would say that as an advisor as well, there's a need for a very strong project management team that is specifically looking at ensuring that everything is done on time for delivery of this Africa Cup of Nations. I've read in the reports that you had the chain had to be postponed because we were not ready. Eventually it took place, but you could see some gaps here and there. Showing that there's still a need for improvement to ensure that this thing is well coordinated. And it needs the right people to know. Sometimes it's all good to have these things, and we're excited as a country. We can do this, but you also need the expertise. So I would really urge those that are in charge to ensure that no system is faltered. Let's ensure that there's a process in place to achieve a successful Africa Cup of Nations.
Before I let you go, Mr. Senzo, Benny McCarthy, basically your compatriot, you've been in football management. I'm sure you've interacted with him. He's now the national football team coach of Kenya, Harambee Stars, that is. Basically, your thoughts on Benny? Of course, he had a good run with the Harambee Stars in CHAN.
Look, Ben is a big figure in African football. He's a well-respected coach in his right. He has taken Amazulu to the Confederations Cup. He's done well in South Africa. He's played for one of the biggest clubs in South Africa. He played for Orlando Pirates. By the way, Benny was my player. I managed Benny when he was working at Orlando Pirates. I won the treble with Benny McCarthy. So I know the character in him. Is somebody that works hard. Is somebody that demands from his players. So I think with the type of players we have in that region, it will be important for the players to adapt very, very, very quickly. And also to provide the necessary support that Benny needs. So I think he will succeed in that space. He's got a very thin skin. Knowing Kenya and East Africa with media, you can be very tough. But I think Benny is ready for it. He also played in England, where media was very, very rough on him. But he's managed to do well. And we should not forget that he's also, coached at the highest level in the EPL. So you guys are very fortunate to have that type of a player type of a coach in your midst. And even his technical team, the assistant coach and Monip as a goalkeeper coach. I know the character in the people, and I think that with patience and continuous support and ensuring that he's allowed to prepare his team, I think you will see the changes in Harambee Stars.
Precisely. Mr. Senzo, we're out of time, but finally, 30 seconds from you, these personal goals and ambition. What should we expect from you in the next probably 2 years or under a year? In 30 seconds, if you can.
We shall still be involved in football. We will do our best to elevate the sports we love in Africa. We shall not disappear. We will ensure that we bring along all those individuals that want to see a success in our African football. We have to go towards the status of people like the UEFA Champions League and things like that. So we need, in our different corners, work towards making African football a better product for people to consume.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for those insights. That's Mr. Senzo Mbatha. He is a South African football executive. He's been in the boardroom of several clubs, including our neighbors Yanga SC and Simba SC. He's speaking to us from Johannesburg, South Africa. Quite a pleasure joining you, of course, engaging you today. And we hope to have this conversation in the future. When you come to Nairobi, please check out on us.
Thank you very much. I'll make sure that I make Nairobi my second home, because my first home now is Tanzania. But I look forward to visiting you there. Thank you to Citizen TV for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Of course, that's an early